Hello Year 8 and welcome to Lesson 3 of your home learning of South America. Today's lesson, we're looking at assessing Argentina's level of development. To do this, we are going to look at our learning journey. So we're going to be looking at describing the location of Argentina as our first learning objective, followed by looking at what are the necessary criteria to be considered a HIC, a high income country, and then finally assessing the evidence to decide whether Argentina should be considered a HIC or a high income country. So first of all, looking at where is Argentina located in the world, what do we need to be considered a high income country, and then once we've done those two, we should be able to use that to then assess whether we believe Argentina should be considered a HIC country, a high income country. Learning objective 1 then of this lesson is to describe the location of Argentina. Now on this first slide, you can see that you've got a map highlighting where Argentina is within a certain continent. Around the borders, I've put the compass north, east, south and west. You can also see that there are places highlighted on the map that you can use to identify the location of Argentina. In a second, I'm going to ask you to pause the video so you can complete a task. The task I would like you to do then, you need a mini whiteboard and I'm going to ask you to bullet point the following questions. Okay, so which continent does Argentina belong to? Okay, is it in the north, the east, the south or the west? And again, I've said I've put these compass points around the map to help you. What ocean does Argentina border? So which ocean's next to it? And then using your own knowledge from the previous two lessons, can you think of any countries that are nearby to Argentina? Once you've done this, can you take a picture of your whiteboard? Pause the video now. Okay, now you've got the information on your whiteboard to help you. I want you to complete this task in writing, okay? Describe the location of Argentina. And again, this is your first learning objective. Okay, so the task is split up into developing, secured and mastered. The developing part of this task then, Argentina can be found in, so which compass point, on the continent of, so which continent is it in? Secured. The ocean bordering Argentina is, and just tell me which ocean is next to it. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you could tell me which compass point it is in terms of Argentina. So the ocean bordering Argentina is this, it is to this of Argentina. Okay? For mastered, can you name any countries bordering Argentina and use the compass direction? So, for example, you could say this country is to the north of Argentina. Once you've done that, can you take a picture of your description and then you can upload that work at the end of the lesson. Pause the video now. Now that we've explained or described the location of Argentina, we're now moving on to our second learning objective, which is what a country needs to meet to be considered a high-income country. Now, we've looked at measures of development before when we compared China and India in our Asia topic to see which one was more developed. Now, we're going to use some of those measures of development now to show what a country needs to be considered a high-income country. On the board, I have put 8 pieces of information that a country needs to be considered a HIC or a high-income country. So the first one, I'll give an example, is your GNI, that's your gross national income. That just means how much a country makes per person. If your gross national income is over $12,535, that shows that that country is then a high-income country. The other 7 pieces of information also show ways that a country needs to, they show what a country needs to have to be considered a high-income country. There are some keywords on this in this information. If you're unsure of anything like birth rate, death rate, I've uploaded a PDF file which has the definitions for those key terms like low infant mortality, GNI, birth rate, life expectancy. So if you're struggling to understand what they mean, go and open that PDF file and that will give you the information you need to understand that. So once I've explained the task, I'm going to ask you to pause the video so you can complete the task. So your task then, Developing, if you're going to do that, transform each measure of development into an image. So an example, if you take the stable birth rate and death rate, I want you to draw an image that looks a little bit like this. A picture of a baby, a picture of a tombstone, which would represent death rate, and then I've got a steady line graph that isn't increasing rapidly or decreasing rapidly. It's just steadily staying at the same level. And I want you to do that for each piece of information. Once you've done that, you can then do the secured task, which is then taking two of the criteria and explaining them in more detail. So why does this show a high level of development? Again, I'll give you an example of what I'm looking for. Example secured. So if we take low infant mortality, this shows a country has a higher level of development because, so you'd explain why that shows that that country is higher development. For the mastered task then, I want you to take the last two pieces of information. Why does high level of debt and high resource consumption demonstrate development? So why are those two pieces of information showing that a country can be considered more developed and a high income country? Okay, once you've done that, I want you to take a picture of your work ready to upload at the end of the lesson. If you pause the video now, you can complete this task. Now we've completed our first learning objective of finding out where Argentina is located and our second learning objective of what criteria you need to become a HIC, we are now going to come to a decision as to whether Argentina can be considered a high income country. To do this, I have given you a resource pack which is attached to your class charts. You need to read through this information, which consists of graphs, it consists of some information, and you're going to look at whether you consider Argentina to be a high income country. Now, for a developing task, I'm going to ask you to give me one reason why you think Argentina can be considered a HIC, and explain why you think that, and one reason why you think Argentina should not be considered a HIC, and explain that. You will get this information from reading through your graphs and your information on your resource pack. Once you've done that, you can move on to the secured task. The secured task, I want you to give your opinion. So do you consider Argentina to be a high income country? So I think Argentina is or is not a HIC because. So you need to tell me which one you think and in your opinion, tell me why. For mastered, using the data, make a prediction as to how Argentina's development might change in the future. So you need to look at the information to predict, so you're making an educated guess of what you think might happen to Argentina in terms of development in the future. Again, once you've written this information down and made your decision, can you take a picture of this and you can upload this to class charts. Again, I'm just going to ask you to pause the video here so that you can complete your finding learning objective. Thank you for completing this lesson today, Year 8. The final slide is just asking you to upload the work that you have completed for this lesson. So, the first thing I would like you to upload is a picture of your whiteboard showing your location of Argentina and your description of Argentina's location. Remember, this links to your first learning objective, being able to tell me where Argentina is located. The second piece of work that I would like you to upload is a picture and explanation of measures of development. Again, this links to our second learning objective, which shows how we consider a country to be a high-income country. And then finally, I want you to upload your decision as to whether Argentina can be considered a HIC. And again, that was our final learning objective, which links to whether Argentina is a HIC. Well done for participating in this home learning, and I really do look forward to seeing your work. Thank you.